Hello, all. Very good morning. Thanks for joining the session. Let me share my screen. Right. So hope you are all able to see my screen. So as part of the project concept and then the modules understanding, we have completed understanding the categories module and then the brands module yesterday. And we even have seen all the constraints that we need to execute or constraints that we need to consider while writing the microservices, meaning when we are writing the business logic, we need to consider these business constraints as well. So that is what we discussed so far, meaning the users module and then the user management module, category module, and then the brands module. These three modules we have completed. So let us quickly analyze the other modules as well. And probably from Monday onwards, let us start the deriving the use cases for our new system and also analyzing the functional requirements, technical requirements, and then drawing the use case diagrams and then the other diagrams. So in my case, 8080 something is listening. One moment, guys. So let me kill. Oh, my bad. Let me is running in my local on the same port. Just let me click. I know that is the probably NGINX. Okay, so I'll do it later on time. Let me change the port number and then the run it. So we Shopify platform backend. Let me go here, change it to 8082. And let me just write it 8082. Right. Any questions? Sir, instead of JSP, what we will use? Okay, JSPs are server side pages, but now our application architecture is stateless. There is no data will be saved at the server side, or there will be no data saved in the session. It is the stateless architecture. So UI will be the React.js. So UI will be the React.js and backend will be the microservices, meaning RESTful services, but with the microservices principles and then the characteristics. It is a RESTful service only, but it is with the microservices characteristics and then the principle and with the many of the microservices design principles we will write that RESTful service. So backend is microservice, front end is the React.js application. Fine. Right. So let us go ahead and then start. Fine. So let us go ahead and then start the other module. Carefully observe. Today 8082/ there is a context I have given, that is vShopify platform. So go here and then enter it. Now let me log in as a super admin. This is the super admin. Yes, I have been logged in. Right. So when I have been logged in, so now this is the next is the products module. So before discussing about this products module, we may discuss about this customers module and then coming back to this products module. So customers, see this, when we click on this customers are only viewed by the super admin. Customers are only viewed by the super admin. or customers can be edited also by the superadmin. Customers can be deleted by the superadmin, and customers can be exported into a report. But there is no chance for the superadmin to create the customer. See this? Now, who is the customer? There are two concepts here. Please focus. Why? Because in the architecture, we will use the IDP or IAM. So WSO2 or key cloak we will use. Whether it is the user, whether it is the customer, both will be in the identity management server, not in the database. These users will create in the identity management server, but not in the database. Coming to, this is a user in the IAM server. Coming to application, there is a differentiation. User is different, and then the customer is different. That means the roles for these two are different. User role is somehow related to the backend application roles. Customer role is fixed, it is customer. So you are getting my point, right? So customers are not able to create by the superadmin. Point number one, customers should have to be create using their self-registration. Point number two, when the customers are creating, by default, we have to assign a role called customer. Point number three. These 3 points we need to carefully observe, and then we need to implement it separate service. Customer as a separate service we need to implement. So let me start this front-end application just to showcase and from where the customers will be created. So let me go here and then log in to this front-end application. Localhost 8081/vshopify-app. So this is the front-end application. If you can see here, the customers can be registered from here. It is a self-registration for them. It is a self-registration for them. And in the self-registration, there is one or two flaws actually in the existing system. We need to fix them. But this is the customer's registration. Every customer will have to do the registration by their own, is called as a self-registration. Now let us discuss the flow of the customer module with the self-registration. So module 3, there is carefully observe, there are a lot of business constraints and then cases will come here. So module 4, customer management module. So module 4, customer management. Carefully observe. So superadmins can't create the customers. Superadmin. Okay, first of all, who is the customer? Customer is a real user. Customer is a real user. Customer is a real user. Real user who can use the e-commerce, who can use the e-commerce website or e-commerce web application to do the Windows shopping, to do the window shopping, to do the window shopping, and to do the window shopping. Customer is a real user who can use the e-commerce website or web application to do the window shopping and purchase the products, do the payment for them, and the e-commerce company, e-commerce company should have to deliver the products purchased to the customers um, home address. Customer's home address. Also, the payment receipt should have to deliver to the customer's billing address. Customer's billing address. You can see here two words: home address, billing address, home address, billing address, and then the delivery purchased, right? Meaning deliver the products, and then the purchasing the products, right? Meaning payments. So these are the keywords you can see now in this customer management module. Okay. Customers can't be created by the Shopify platform backend users like super admin or admin or editor. So one moment, let me also log into the application with another persona. Then let us see there that persona is the editor. With the editor persona, let me log in here. Before confirming this one, with the editor persona, let me log in. So we Shopify -editor @yopmail.com, and then the password. Yes, this editor able to create the categories, brands, products, but not able to create the customers. Perfect. So concept is clear. Customers can't be created by the Shopify platform backend users like super admin, editor, etc. Right? Customers can register themselves. Customer can register themselves using the self-registration form available in the front end application, in the Shopify platform front end application, that is website or web application where the customer would like to do the window shopping. Makes sense? So this is the platform front end application. So customers can register themselves using the self-registration form. So how the self-registration form will be? The self-registration form of the customers is like this. So let us take this self-registration form as a screenshot. Now, what are the, I'm just typing the concept actually. Now, what are the use cases? We will derive later, but let me type the concept first. Let me explain you the concept of the product first. Then the use cases we may derive. Okay, let me even minimize this. Perfect. Okay, so customers should have to give this details. Here, carefully observe. Please, okay, first let me write the self-registration flow. Carefully observe. Once the user is registered, user can't be able to log in as soon as he will be registered. Rather, first the user should have to do what? When he click on create account, the user will get an email. The user will get an email with the verification link. When the user clicks on the verification link, then for that user, password change form we need to display. Change password form we need to display. So we should not entertain the user to choose his password here, because of course this e-commerce applications doesn't matter, but for the other applications like banking and all, while the customer account is creating, there will be no chance for entering the password. This vShop, meaning e-commerce platforms, can allow the passwords in the registration form itself, because the guest, uh, everyone can do the shopping. Even we can do the shopping as a guest user as well. No need to be login, no need to be registered. But once you want to purchase the products, then you have to register, then you have to log in. Correct? But window shopping can be done by anyone. Is even a guest user can also do that. So what I mean to say is, password, retype password when we are asking the user to choose in the registration form, then two cases I am discussing here. Carefully observe. When the user will be able to enter the password and then the retype password in the registration form, then we have to send an email with the verification link to verify his email is proper or not. Because whatever the communication we would like to do, we will do to his email ID only. So there is no guarantee that he may enter the right email ID, he may not enter the right email ID. So we need to first verify that email is the proper or not. Okay, so two verifications we will do. One is a validation. How to do the validation? The validation we will do using the domain, meaning domain validation we will do. So in order to do that domain validations, we will have some third-party APIs. So this email validation.abstractapi.com is some third-party API. This third-party API is validating the domain. That means, what is the meaning of it? So let's say I may entered John at the rate Chiru, maybe Sachin, maybe Ambani.com. Right? Is it really exists? Meaning, first we need to check, is this domain existed or not? First of all, the email ID, whatever he is entering, for that email, the domain existed or not, first we need to verify. So in order to check the domain existed or not, or the domain proper or not, we have to use a third-party APIs. So this third-party API we need to use and then verify the domain. Once the domain is valid, then we have to send an email with the verification link. With the verification link. So when the user clicks on the verification link, then the user will be activated in our system. That means the customer, as soon as he will be registered, the customer will be in the disabled state. When the customer will clicks on the verification link, then the customer will be go to enable state. Customer will go to enable state. So when the customer will be enabled, then he will be able to log into the system with his credentials, username, and then the password. Got it, right? You got the flow. So let me write that flow in the document. Yes, correct. Customers are being created by themselves by filling the form. Correct. So self-registration. The flow of the self-registration is customers will get the once the customer fill the self-registration form, once the customer fill this self-registration form and clicks on create account, the following actions should have to do. One is the following actions should have to be done by the system. That is vShopify-platform. What is that? Number one, check the email domain is valid or not, and send an email with the verification link, and disable every registered user in the system. These three operations we should have to do. Disable the user. Yes, first check the email domain is valid or not, then send the verification email. Before doing that, once the user is created, so this is a validation actually. This is a validation. So the questions interviewer will ask is, have you ever written the custom annotation? Have you ever written the custom annotation? So this is the example, the use case to answer that question. So we will write the custom annotation. So let me go here, customer B. You can see the custom annotation, email domain valid annotation. Maybe I can check it in the comments. Email domain valid. So this is a custom annotation. So what we will write this custom annotation. I'll explain while writing how to write this custom annotation. This is very important interview question as well. Have you ever written the custom annotation? If yes, then how to write the custom annotation. So this custom annotation is having the email domain validator constraint. So this is again calling the is valid domain service. And this service is making an API call to the abstract API, the third-party API. And that third-party API is giving whether the email domain is valid or not. So this is as part of the form submission, this validation will be get fired. If this validation passed through, that means the user entered email ID domain is valid. Then if the validation is passed through, then the user will be created in the system. So once the user created in the system, then the user status will be disabled. As soon as the user will be created in the system, that means system in the sense Keycloak or WSO2 server, I think we can write here. So check the email valid or not. So we will write a custom annotation for this, which will invoke a third party, API call to verify the email domain is valid or not. Right? So we will write a custom annotation. Next, once the user created in the system, means WSO2 Keycloak, WSO2 R Keycloak, WSO2 IAM or Keycloak IDP. Once a user created in the system, then once the user created in the system, the user status will be in disabled state. It will be in disabled state. And here we need to write one more point also. Once the customer fills the self-registration form and clicks on create account, these following actions will be done. And disable the every registered user in the system. Yeah, that's okay. Now send an email verification link. So for every disabled user, to enable them, we have to send, uh, we have to, in the sense, platform. We Shopify platform should have to send an email with the verification link. Send an email with the verification link. So send an email with the verification link. Once the user clicks on that, once the user clicks on the verification link, then user should have to activate in the system and should be then able to log into the system. Make sense? So this is how the self-registration flow is. 3 parts here. Once the customer fill the self-registration form and clicks on create account, the following actions will be happened. So these 3 actions will be happened. So everyone should have to follow this documentation while you are writing the code, because we are preparing this documentation, which we will refer while we are doing the code as a reference documentation, as a use cases documentation, meaning concept. Use cases we will again prepare, but most of the use cases I'm covering, but I'll prepare one use cases document as well. So let us combinedly do that as well. But however, so this is the self-registration flow. Now in this self-registration, before self-registration flow, in order to do the customer registration, the country and then the states, right? Country and then the states should have to be auto-populate. But in the current system, the country and then the states are not auto-populating, correct? So country and then states, who will create actually, how they will come here. So if you can go to this backend, backend, we Shopify platform backend, there is a settings. If you can go to this country settings, so we can load the list of countries which we created in the database, and we can add the new country as well here, country and then the country code. So here we also need to provide one more facility, like download the countries list file and then upload here. As soon as we will upload here, the country should have to be created in the database. And once the country is created in the database, that should have to come for us here in this list. For example, let me write now, the country name is United States of America. United States of America. Country code is US. Just let me create now new country code. Just refresh. All countries have been loaded. It is just showing. Yeah, maybe this feature is not working. Let's say USA and the code is US. Yeah, so it is now added. So once this is added here, you can see that list of countries here, India and then the USA, right? So that means backend, being an administrator, we need to load all the countries before starting this front-end application, meaning before we will be enable this front-end application for the customer usage, or before moving this customer application to the production, we must have to fulfill the required things. For example, states. So select the country. So let me load countries list. India. In India, let me add this state as Telangana, just new state, and let me refresh. So TS, let me add. No, actually, let me refresh countries list. Maybe this is also not working, but let us double check whether we will be able to see the states. No, here it should be a drop down actually. However, there is a flaw in the existing system. We also need to fix it. But you are understanding, right? So before rendering this customer self-registration form, administrator or super admin should have to fill all the necessary data. For example, what is the mail server, right? And what is the mail templates, and what is the payment gateway. So these are all the details should be updated in the settings screen by the super admin before the customer self-registration will do. So let us write this point here. And remember, I never share this code with you. That is the reason I'm preparing the documentation. This documentation only the reference point for you, because this code, this code I don't share with you. This is for my reference. So whatever the code you will develop, that is with you, and the screens only I will give you. So you have to follow that screens and then develop. However, now, so there is okay, customers registration. Okay, here in the customer self registration flow. Okay, so before making the customer application available in the production, the actually there is a separate module called settings, so we can discuss there. But let me add one note here. Note, in the customer registration form, these states and countries should have to be auto-populate, in the drop down, So to make this happen, we Shopify platform admin or super admin should have to load all the countries and states in the backend, right? Loads all the countries and states into the backend, into the database, using the platform backend application. Make sense? So using the platform backend application, the countries and then the states needs to be loaded into the system. Perfect. So that is from the self-registration. And one more point also in the self-registration. Disable the okay. By default, we have to assign the role customer. By default, we have to assign the role customer when the customer is registering, when the customer is self-registering. So when the customer is self-registering, definitely by default we need to assign the role called customer. Now, how do we know that the customer is doing the self-registration? Right? So when this form will be submitted, in this form we have to when this form will be submitted, in the data that we are submitting to the backend API, we have to make one flag. So we have to maintain a flag like underscore self-reg is equal to true to identify. So we have to maintain a flag is equal to true and send to the backend microservice from the UI to identify that this is the self-registration process, or this is the self-registration. Makes sense? So we need to maintain one flag in the payload that we are sending to the backend APIs. That means from here, so from here, React.js application is there, right? From React.js application, when that form will be filled, and then when we submit the form, the React API, it need to send one flag also to the backend API that this is the self-registration. Make sense? Right. So flag meaning some indicator, some extra. So we will send some data. We'll send some data like this. Some JSON data will send to the backend API, right? So first name and then the last name, first name, last name, right? Similarly, here also we need to send one flag underscore self-reg is true or false. Like this, we need to send one flag to indicate that this is the payload of the self-registration. So based on this flag, the backend API will set the role as a customer while the user is registering. Got it? So these are the use cases for the customer management. Yeah, let me see, any corner case I missed here. Let me double check. Any corner cases I missed here? No corner cases, I believe. Email address is sending. Okay. This user will be created in the customers. There is one more note also I have to write here. Customers and users are two different entities, in our system, separated by the roles, right? Next, customers and users will be created in the IAM server, will be created in the WSO2 IAM server or Keycloak IDP server. So these are the three things we should have to be note. So just let me go here and put as some bullet points, or else let me just take 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's all from the customer management module point of view. So the customer is a real user who can use our e-commerce website, right? Who can use our e-commerce website or web application to do the window shopping, right? And purchase the products, do the payment, right? Do the payment, and we have to deliver the products to his home address or billing address. The payment receipt should have to be sent to the billing address. So this is usual flow. The customers can't be created by Shopify platform backend users like super admin or editor or shipper, whatever it is. Customers can register themselves using the self-registration form available in the Shopify platform front-end application. That is the website or web application where the customer would like to do the window shopping. From there, the customer self-registration form will be available like this. So now the self-registration flow, how it will be. So once the customer fill the self-registration form and clicks on create account, the following action should have to be do. First, email domain should have to be validated. Then by default, we need to assign the role called customer while the customer is registering. Then we have to send one flag to the customer. Meaning we have to send one flag from the front end. We have to maintain one flag to indicate that this is a self-registration. And every registered user will be disabled in our system. And we need to send one verification email link to the user's email ID. Once the user clicks on that verification email link, then the user will be activated. So this verification link will be valid for 48 hours. So this verification link will be valid for 48 hours. So verification link will be valid for 48 hours. Here we need to define some password pattern as well. Okay, password pattern as well we need to define. So what is that password pattern? Getting my point right? In the screen, there is a password and then confirm password. So password pattern we must have to decide now. Password patterns. So what are all the password patterns? So getting my point. So WSO2 is server actually. Let me showcase you that. Softwares WSO2 IS. So this is one server where all the user management activities, not only user management, a lot actually, complete authentication, authorization, multi-factor authentication, social logins, user management, user enablement, disablement, sending in emails, everything will be taken care by this WSO2 server. Meaning IAM servers, not only this WSO2, any IAM server, even though Keycloak also will do those activities, right? So it will take little time to start up. So let it start. Meantime, let us go and then discuss about the password patterns. So password patterns. Password must be of minimum 8 characters. Password must be of minimum 8 characters. Next. Password should contain at least one number, one digit, and one special character. No spaces allowed in the password characters. Okay, this is the password pattern. Then password constraints. So what are the password constraints? The password constraints are password. Every user should have to reset their password after 90 days. Before 45 days, before on 45th day, on 45th day, comma, 60, okay. After 45 days of password set, for every 15 days, we have to remind the next password reset time. That means you have 60 more days to reset your password. You have 15 more days to 25 more days to, like that we have to send one reminders. That they will be ignored, that's okay. So if user entered the wrong password for five consecutive attempts, then user account should be locked. This is one constraint. If the user enters the wrong password for 5 consecutive attempts, then the user account should be locked. If the user account should be locked, for next 2 hours. So after 2 hours, the user should have to reset his password by clicking on the forgot password link. But clicking on the forgot password link. Okay, so making sense, right? Change password and then reset password. Note. Change password will be happen. Change password will be due by the customer. Once he logged in to the application. Reset password will be due by the customer. Before log into the system. Before log into the system. This is the difference between the change password and then the reset password. So when the password will be forgot, then the user can reset his password, right? So this is the difference between the change password and then forget password. So probably WSO2 server is up and run. Let me go and then connect to this server. Let me showcase you. As someone asked, what is this WSO2 server? Let me showcase you this WSO2 server. Let me, of course, I'll again explain what are the servers and all, how to set up as part of our infrastructure setup, which we will start in our next week. So we will do all these things. So this is the WSO2 server. So once I will be logged in, see this. So here we can see the list of users and we can see the list of roles, right? And we can also add the new user, add the new role, bulk import the users, and whatever the password patterns and all I told, right? So those are all were defined here. So password policies, password pattern, see, minimum 862, maximum 12 characters. And this is the password pattern. One capital letter, one small letter, A to Z, and then the special characters are allowed. And this is the error message. Password pattern is violated at all, right? And password history. So we have to see the password history validation count. If the 5 times the user will be entered his password wrong, then his user account will be locked. So this will be due by this IAM servers. We don't need to write any coding for them. IAM servers will do. And user onboarding. So self-registration. So we have to do this, meaning there is an API provided by the WSO2 server. That API we need to integrate. And when we submit our form, registration form, that API will be called and then user will be self-registered. So when the user self-registered, do we want to send the notification like the user registered successfully? If you want, we can enable that self-registration as well, meaning email template and all. And ask password. So do we need to ask the password to be entered when the user email verification is happening, or else do we need to skip it? That is what. And login attempts security. Account lock for every 5 maximum login fails, the account should have to be locked, right? When the account will be locked, then again email should have to be sent. So that is what. And then SSO settings, other settings, account management and idle. So if the account is not used for 90 days, the user is registered, but he was not logged in for 90 days, then we will send the warning alerts to him for every 30 days, 45 days, 60 days, 75 days. And after 90 days, we will log the user. Then, meaning we will suspend the user. Account disable. So we will disable the account, meaning when the user will be registered, we will disable the account and then we will send an email to reset his password, right? Meaning to verify his account. And then account recovery. This is related to the forget password reset. Do we need to send an OTP, email OTP while resetting the password? Yes, if you want that MFA, multi-factor authentication, we can enable. And here are the multi-factor authentication settings, right? Similarly, this is the user registration, not user registration. We can also do the single sign-ons. We can also do the JWT, OpenID, OAuth2, all we can do. For example, this pickup dispatch is the application. See here, authentication, SAML, OAuth, and WS Federation authentication, right? This is for the Windows authentication, Kerberos authentication. Kerberos meaning what? Once you log into your machine, you will be automatically log into the application. You separately no need to log into application. Separately, you no need to enter your credentials, right? But WS Federation meaning our Windows will have one Windows service will have, that is Windows Federation service. From there also we can authenticate, meaning to the machine using that Windows Federation service, we can authenticate from this WSO2. So this is OAuth OpenID. We have to configure OAuth and then OpenID logins. So OAuth 2.0, what are the allowed grant types? What is callback URL? And what we want? We want the JWT or default token, or what is the expiry of this token? So all these things we have to set up in this WSO2, and then via APIs we have to manage in our application, right? It is an open source. Yes, captcha code verification is also, captcha is too older, but yes, we can also enable this captcha as well. Captcha we can enable here itself only. If we can go here in the user onboarding, somewhere we have this captcha settings as well. Yeah, prompt captcha. So it will automatically prompt the captcha as well, right? So this is the tool, I mean, not tool actually, server, IAM server we will use. Keycloak is a small one. Let's say WSO2 is 100 rupees, Keycloak is just 5 rupees or 10 rupees. That is the difference between the Keycloak and then WSO2. Keycloak is just an IDP. WSO2 is more, it is an IAM. Got it? Huh? If WSO2 is 100 rupees, Keycloak is like a 5 rupees or 10 rupees only. Meaning features wise, a lot of features were embedded. Do you know one thing? IRCTC and then the Apple Marketplace, IRCTC is using this WSO2. Nowadays, lot of members are using this WSO2. Even right now, there were multiple openings for this WSO2 in TechM Infosys. And remember, these identity servers will be used by the gained companies only. Meaning, because bigger applications will use this IAM, banking applications will use this IAM. So to maintain them, IAM experts are required. So right now, TechM and then the Infosys and then the Wipro, I believe, they have the requirement on this WSO2. ForgeRock identity, and there is one more actually, ForgeRock and then the WSO2, they have the requirements now. Okay, so WSO2 is slowly getting the boom. What is IAM? So this is not the right time to discuss about what is IAM and all. When time comes, I'll discuss about this, what is IAM and then WSO2. In a single class, right, we can't discuss all these things. It is highly impossible, but in the coming up sessions, I will discuss when we really start our project, meaning the infrastructure setup when we will do, then I will explain what is IAM, what is IDP, what is the difference between IDP and then IAM. All those things we can discuss. This is not the right time to discuss, right? Fine. That's all from this demo 3 point of view. If you feel like, it is benefit for you, go and initiate your registration process. Probably from the Wednesday onwards, the link will be changed. Again, from Monday onwards, let us continue with this demos part only. But the link will be changed either on Tuesday, either on the Wednesday. I am requesting them to change the link by either on Tuesday or either on Wednesday. If you feel like it is helpful for you, go and then initiate your registration process. Okay, so system settings, infrastructure setup, I will start once the link will be changed. I hope so far we got the good understanding on the system, what is the system and what is the current system and how it is now, right? At least you got the good understanding now for 3 or 4 modules, correct? So 2 or 3 modules, majorly products module is there that we need to discuss. Orders module is there that we need to discuss. At least if we discuss these 2 modules, then we are good to go with the system design or the requirement analysis. So far we have done the project concept modules understanding, and from these we need to get the use cases, and we need to understand that use cases functionally, technically. Then we need to write the architecture designs and all. Then we have to go for the infra setup, installations, and then infra setup. Fine. That's all from my side for today, guys. Any questions for me?
So are you going to take class tomorrow?
No class tomorrow. No class tomorrow. Again,
we'll query. Hi, Narsi, sorry to cut you down. There is a point in the user cases disabling the self-registration in the system. What does that mean exactly?
Correct. What is that
so
meaning?
Why we need to disable?
Yeah. Why we need to disable is, here we are allowing the user to enter the password and then retype password, right? So without the user verifying his email ID by clicking on the email link, if the user will go and then log in, he will be able to log in. Then there is no point for us to send him the verification email. Correct, right? So that is the reason. Once after only the email verified, we have to enable the user to log in. To achieve that, we are disabling the user upon his registration. And once he click on the email link, that means the verification link that got to his email ID, once he click on that link, then we will enable the user. Once the user will be enabled, then he will be able to log in. Got it?
So again, it switch back to the registration process after the verification of the email.
As part of registration only. Correct. Okay. After verification of the email, it is not registration. After verification of the email, he can directly log into the system. After verification of the email, it is not again registration. No, registration is happening at only once. While doing the registration only, we are making that user as disabled. So every registered user will be disabled. Got it? Don't worry. While we are doing, it will be understanding. Yeah. While we are doing, it will be definitely will be clear. Yeah. Okay. That's all from my side, guys. If you are, thanks a lot. If you are interested, then go and initiate your registration process. The link will be changed from either Tuesday or either from Wednesday onwards. Once the link will be changed, then I will start the infrastructure setup. Okay. Anything else for me? So basically the user is registered as inactive user. After verification only it will be active to login. Perfect. Correct. The user will be registration as an inactive user. Yes. User will be activated when only the verification link will be clicked on. Yeah. Any questions?
You maintain this underscore self registration, this flag equal to true, right? So anyhow we are managing those all the customers in WSO2 servers. Then what is the purpose of keeping this flag in our database?
Yeah. It's correct. Excellent question. Actually, what is happening now? This is the UI. From UI, So from UI, the call will come to where? The call will come to user management service. Now, user management service should have to invoke the WSO2. While invoking WSO2, user management also should have to assign the role. So what role it will assign? User management service will set the role. So what role it should have to set? Correct. So then there it will take that flag. From this input, it will take the flag. If underscore self-registration is equal to true, then user.set role as a customer. Then hit the WSO2 API. Then the user will be registered in WSO2 API by assigning the role called customer. Got it?
Yeah, Narsi, I got you now. Actually, I didn't notice that this call is happening through this user management services. Okay.
Yes, because microservices and we never expose this WSO2 Identity Server for the end customers. We never. So that is the reason everything will be managed to our services only. If we directly give the user WSO2 Identity Server APIs to this React application, if anyone will press F12, of course we will restrict that F12 in the production, but just in case if anyone will press F12, they can know the server details, right? Maybe it will be prone to any tamperings and all. That's the reason we never expose our internal infra. We only expose our services. Make sense, sir?
Yes.
So
yes.
where,
And
where
now
will
this,
be
sorry to interrupt. And this WSO2 we are iterating, right? This WSO2 is completely open source or it is a chargeable?
Completely open source. No need of pay even a 0 rupee. In production, we can use it completely as an open source. So we have used it for around 7 to 8 clients so far. Yeah. Any questions?
so user will be inactive in user management service or WSO2 identify server?
No.
In which location it is?
Yeah,
inactive?
user management service is users all will be maintained in the WSO2. User management service is just like an intermediate service to talk to this WSO2 identity server and then get the details and then give it to our UI. So no user will be kept at the user management service. If you can see, this user management service don't have any database, correct? Na? Whereas other services have the databases. So user management service database is nothing but the WSO2 server only. Means kind of a storage, nothing but WSO2 server. So all the users will be maintained in the WSO2. Got it? Yeah.
I mean,
So
in which service it is users are active, inactive, you said, right? So that one I'm confusing, like in which location inactive and active.
Okay, users will be where actually users will be in the WSO2, isn't it? Here the users.
Okay.
So the users here, they will be inactive or active. If we can go to this user profile and we can enable one flag here. So there is a concept called claims. Going forward, we can see. So there is a concept called claims. Using that claims, we can enable or disable the user. Meaning we can maintain that checkbox actually here, account state. So if we check this account is disabled or not. So let me just for your sake, support by default. Let me just update. And if you can go to here list and then go to user profile. Now we can see that flag. Alex's account disabled or enabled for him. See this? His account is not disabled now. Correct? Na? If the account is disabled, then it will be like this. Let me update. First name is required. Okay. Let me enter this Alex John. Let's say alex@yopmail.com. If I update, yes, now user updated. If we go to Alex user profile, yes, now he is in the disabled state. So he can't log in now. Got it? Huh? Yeah. Okay. So this is not so easy project that I have taken. So a lot of things are here. I'm pretty sure you will learn a lot from this one. So if you feel it is helpful for you, then please go and then initiate your registration process. Okay, so WSO2 acting as a shadow for our application. We have our user management module to maintain the users, but the customers is internally. No, not really true, Vikram Patra. Your understanding may be little deviating. WSO2 is not acting as a shadow. WSO2 is one server actually, where it can be only accessed by our vShopify backend admins only, not by the customers. vShopify backend users only can access this WSO2, and the users and then customers, everyone can see in the WSO2. Okay. Right. So WSO2.
It is, I mean, all the request is going through the user management module, right? UM module. And for the customers, we are just fetching the data from the WSO2 servers. Hello, am I audible, Narsi?
Hello, all. Am I audible now?
Yes, Narsi,
Able
now
to hear me?
audible.
Yeah.
So my question is like all the request is, I mean, going through this user management module, right? For the customers, we are just fetching all the details from the WSO2 servers, and registration also we are doing. So
Correct.
that's why I'm just telling, like here, WSO2 servers is acting as a third party, right? Because our
Exactly.
application is just known to user management module. Our
Correct.
application is not directly interacting with the WSO2 server.
WSO2.
That's why I just
Exactly
told
correct.
it's acting as a shadow.
Exactly correct. So WSO2 contains the customers, users, every entity, user. If the entity that need to be logged in, either it is backend or frontend, the user will be maintained here. The users will be managed, like retrieval of the users from WSO2, deletion of the user from WSO2. Everything will be happening through this API, because ours is the React application or Angular application. They required one API. That API we will give as a user management by abstracting this identity server APIs. Yes, you are right.
Yeah, thanks, Narsi, for confirming.
Yes.
And one more thing, is there any places we are using any Google Authenticator kind of things, like for admin role? Because if
we can use that is MFA multi-factor authentication. We can use Google Authenticator and all. So MFA is also there in our scope.
Okay, Narsi.
Okay. Yeah. Once this is done, then let us also define the scope, and then according to the scope, let us implement it. Right. So any questions for me? Great. Thanks, folks. Thanks a lot for your time. Even though on Saturday you joined this session, thanks a lot. And if you feel it as helpful for you, please initiate your registration process, because from the Tuesday or Wednesday onwards, the link gonna change. Thanks a lot. Yeah, session is awesome. Thanks,
And
Bikram.
Narsi, how many hours we will have the class per weekend?
Exactly. As I already have communicated, every day it is just only 1 hour. But on Sunday,
Okay.
it will be 3 to 4 hours. 3 to 4
Okay,
hours.
it will start from the regular timings, or are there any?
Yeah, 8:15 to 9:15, but maybe after 10 days, I will shift it to 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. 8 a.m. to 9, because
Okay.
9 a.m. after onwards, people will try to start to offices, right? So maybe if the hybrid mode is happening now, but people will maybe, right? So 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. will have that session.
So on weekends, I mean Saturday and Sunday, it is going to be 2 to 3 hours, right? It starts from
Exactly.
8:15.
Exactly, but not on Saturday. Let us take a rest on Saturday, because 5 days we will be very tired, right? So let us take a rest on Saturday. Sunday from 8 a.m. to like 10, 11 or 12. So based on our use cases, or based on the sprint planning, based on the sprint actions, meaning based on the status, are we currently aligned with the expectations or the achievements, we will plan for those hours, number of hours that we will spend. If we will far late with the expected timeline to be delivered, then we have to spend 3 to 4 hours of time. Got
Yeah,
it?
one suggestion is it should be started in early as 8 o'clock. It will be fine, because as per EST, it will going to be middle of the night. That's why.
Understood. So if it is a longer session, let us plan it at 7 a.m. only. 7 a.m. to 10 or 7 a.m. to 11.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
That would be
We'll
great.
plan
It's
for
already
that.
11 o'clock here. That's what it's going to be till 1 o'clock. Thanks.
Understood. At least 7 to 10 let us plan.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
Fine.
Bye.
Yes. If you no, every day it is from 8 a.m. only. I'm talking about only the Sunday class.
Weekends, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Every day it is from 8 a.m. That I can't change. 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. But on Sunday, it will be definitely it's 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. or 10 a.m. mostly, 3 hours. Most of the progress we'll do on Sunday only, because in weekdays, maybe we will be do the implementation, but the completion and then a lot of things were there, right? I mean, making it as an ecosystem and all. Maybe we can complete a service and its integration on the weekends. So definitely weekend 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I will take, and then weekdays it is 5 days or 4 days I will take from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Okay, right. Thanks a lot, folks. Thanks for your time and all. Yeah, need my
Thanks,
email
Dilip.
ID.
Thanks,
Okay.
Narsi. Yeah.
If any one of you wish to speak to me anything, just contact me on my email ID. I'm just typing here. Yeah. You can send your queries, you can send your personal questions or anything else. You can send your concerns or queries, questions to me on my email ID that I have given. Right? Thanks a lot. Stopping for now, and then see you on Monday. Thanks.